Henry Walker hurried through the busy corridors of Columbia University, clutching his law books and mentally running through legal concepts. It was just the start of the semester, but the pressure was already sinking in. Even so, he couldn't help but smile. There was a party that night at the Alpha Delta fraternity, his second home on campus. Alpha Delta wasn't just any fraternity. For Henry, it was a haven. A place where friendships and character mattered more than social status or competition. Here he could let his guard down. Far from the cutthroat world of law school as night fell. The Alpha Delta house came alive with lights, music, and laughter. The air buzzed with excitement as students gathered to kick off another academic year. Henry weaved through the crowd, greeting friends and soaking in the laid-back vibe. He grabbed a drink and scanned the room. That's when his eyes landed on a familiar face across the room. A young woman with wavy brown hair, a warm smile, and eyes that seemed to carry 1,000 stories. "Amelia Thompson?" he called out, making his way toward her. She turned to him, her expression shifting from surprise to delight. "Henry? No way. I can't believe it. It's been forever." They had been childhood neighbors before life pulled their families in different directions. Any awkwardness melted away as they dove into memories of their shared past. Playing in the park, those long summer afternoons exploring the neighborhood, and the secrets they'd whispered beneath the old tree at the end of the street. "Who would have thought we'd run into each other here?" Amelia said with a laugh. Henry grinned. "The world's smaller than we give it credit for." Hours passed as they talked, the lively party around them fading into the background. Amelia told him about her passion for visual arts and her adventures studying painting and photography. Henry hung on every word, fascinated by her stories of travel and the culture she'd captured through her lens. At some point, they slipped out into the garden, where the crisp autumn night revealed a sky scattered with stars. "Do you remember how we used to count stars on your porch?" Amelia asked, looking up. Henry chuckled. "How could I forget? You always won, though I'm still convinced you made up half those constellations." Their reunion didn't feel like a coincidence. It was as though their lives had realigned for a purpose. Henry felt something stir inside him. A spark, maybe, that told him this moment was the start of something meaningful. "Amelia," he began, his voice a little nervous but full of hope. "How about we continue this conversation over coffee tomorrow?" Her smile widened, her eyes locking with his. "I'd love to." That simple invitation marked the start of a new chapter. One neither of them could have predicted. In the days that followed, Henry and Amelia were practically inseparable. Their mornings kicked off with playful texts, and random encounters throughout the day felt like they were written into fate. Amelia quickly became a fixture at Alpha Delta, where her charm and captivating stories won over Henry's fraternity brothers with ease. One Friday, Alpha Delta organized a charity event to raise funds for a local institution. Henry was heading up the effort, and to his surprise, Amelia offered to help. "I have a few ideas that could make this more exciting," she said, a playful glint in her eye. Intrigued, Henry welcomed her input. They spent hours brainstorming and fine-tuning the details together. Everything from decorations to creative activities to draw a bigger crowd. At one point, Amelia's eyes lit up with inspiration. "What if we included an art exhibition? I know some incredible artists who'd love to showcase their work," she suggested. Henry was impressed. "That's brilliant. You have a way of making everything more dynamic." When the night of the event finally arrived, the fraternity house buzzed with energy. The walls were lined with vibrant artwork, and soft music created a cozy, inviting vibe. Guests mingled, admiring the unique mix of culture and camaraderie. Henry spotted Amelia across the room, animatedly chatting with a group of guests near the exhibition. There was something magnetic about her. The way her eyes sparkled when she talked, the way her enthusiasm drew people in. He made his way over, catching snippets of the conversation as he approached. "This one's one of my favorites," Amelia said, pointing to an abstract painting bursting with bold, intense colors. "You paint?" Henry asked, caught off guard. Amelia blushed a little, looking almost shy. "Sometimes. It's how I express myself." "Why didn't you ever mention that?" he pressed, clearly intrigued. She gave a small shrug, an enigmatic smile playing on her lips. "Some things are more fun to discover at the right moment." Her response left Henry even more curious. Amelia was like a puzzle, revealing pieces of herself bit by bit. As the night carried on, he couldn't stop wondering what other secrets she might be keeping. Toward the end of the event, as everyone celebrated the fundraiser's success, Amelia pulled Henry aside to a quiet corner. "Thank you for trusting me and letting me be a part of this," she said, her voice sincere. Henry shook his head, smiling. "If anything, I should be thanking you. You made it better than I could have imagined." She looked into his eyes, her expression earnest. "Maybe we can keep collaborating, both inside and outside the fraternity." Henry's heart skipped a beat. "I'd love that," he replied, meaning every word. Their connection was undeniable, but with it came unanswered questions. What else was Amelia keeping tucked away? And how might those secrets shape the road they were on? Days turned into weeks, and Henry and Amelia's friendship deepened in a way that felt both natural and electric. Mornings became their time. Coffee at a cozy little bistro near campus, where they debated everything from complicated legal theories to the hidden emotions behind brushstrokes in a famous painting. Afternoons were for exploring. Together they uncovered tucked-away corners of the university. Forgotten art rooms, hidden gardens, and quiet spaces that felt like their own secret discoveries. One lazy afternoon, as they strolled through the college park, Amelia stopped abruptly. A group of students sat under a tree, playing a familiar tune on their guitars. "That's my favorite song," she exclaimed, grabbing Henry's hand and pulling him toward the music. Before he could protest, Amelia began to dance, swaying to the smooth rhythm with laughter that was so infectious it drew smiles from the crowd around them. Henry, always a little hesitant about spontaneous moves, found himself letting go, awkwardly trying to match her steps. "You surprise me every day," he said, shaking his head with a grin. "Life's full of surprises, Henry," she replied, her eyes sparkling. "You just have to be open to them." Later that evening, after an intense study session in the library, they found themselves sitting on the steps of the main building. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the quiet comfort between them made the moment feel timeless. "You know," Henry began, breaking the silence, "I've never felt this connected to someone before." Amelia's smile softened. "I feel the same. It's like our souls found each other again after a long time." Henry hesitated, gathering his courage. "Do you believe in destiny?" She thought for a moment. "I believe people come into our lives for a reason. Maybe to teach us something, or to walk beside us for a while." Henry took a deep breath, his heart pounding. What if I want you to walk beside me for a lot longer than a while?" Amelia turned to him, her gaze steady and full of emotion. "Then maybe we should give this a chance," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. From that moment, everything shifted. Their relationship blossomed into something more than friendship, and the university campus became the backdrop for their young, vibrant love. They created a world filled with impromptu picnics on the lawn, outdoor movie nights, and long conversations under starry skies about dreams they hadn't yet shared with anyone else. One night, while wandering through a modern art exhibition, Amelia revealed a side of herself that felt deeply personal. "When I paint, I feel like I can express everything I can't put into words," she admitted. Henry reached for her hand, his touch gentle. "I'd love to see your work someday." She hesitated, biting her lip. "I promise you'll see it one day." Time flew by when they were together. Henry found himself inspired by Amelia's passion for art and her contagious zest for life. She, in turn, admired his relentless dedication to his studies and his dream of making a difference as a lawyer. But like any story worth telling, their relationship wasn't without its complications. Sometimes Amelia would withdraw into herself, her thoughts seeming miles away. Henry noticed but chose patience over pressure, hoping she'd open up when she was ready. Their love was blooming, vibrant, and full of promise. Yet beneath it all, layers remained. Layers of their individual pasts, their fears and secrets waiting to be unraveled. Those layers would test their bond, shaping and challenging the love they were building together. Time flew by, and before they knew it, Henry and Amelia were graduating. Henry had landed a job offer with a prestigious law firm in New York City, while Amelia was invited to exhibit her paintings in renowned galleries. The future looked bright, and the thought of facing life's challenges together filled them both with hope and excitement. One special night, Henry brought Amelia back to the garden of the Alpha Delta fraternity, the place where their paths had crossed again. His heart raced as he knelt before her, holding a small velvet box in his hands. "Amelia Thompson," he began, his voice steady despite the emotions surging within him. "Since you came back into my life, every day has been extraordinary. Will you marry me?" Amelia's eyes widened in surprise, and a smile lit up her face. "Yes, Henry," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Nothing would make me happier." From that moment, their lives became a whirlwind of wedding preparations. The process was filled with joy, laughter, and anticipation. Friends and family gathered to celebrate the union of a couple who seemed destined to be together. Amelia threw herself into planning every detail, ensuring the ceremony reflected their unique journey. Photos of moments from their university days, songs that marked milestones in their relationship, and artistic touches that showcased her passion. The big day arrived under a brilliant, cloudless sky. Surrounded by loved ones, Henry and Amelia exchanged heartfelt vows during an outdoor ceremony. "I promise to stand by your side in moments of joy and in the challenges life brings us," Henry said, looking deeply into Amelia's eyes. "And I promise to share my dreams with you and support yours, building a future filled with love together," she responded, her voice steady and sincere. The celebration was magical, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts to their future. As they danced their first waltz as husband and wife, Henry leaned in and whispered, "This is the beginning of our greatest adventure." Amelia rested her head on his shoulder, her heart full. "I can't wait to see what the future holds for us," she replied softly. After their honeymoon, they settled into a cozy apartment in the heart of the city. Henry threw himself into his new job, tackling legal challenges with determination, while Amelia transformed one of the rooms into her personal studio, spending hours creating pieces inspired by her experiences and emotions. Evenings became sacred. They shared quiet dinners, took walks in the park, and spent hours discussing art, justice, and their dreams. "Imagine when we have our own house," Henry would say, his mind filled with possibilities. "We'll have a huge studio for you and a quiet office for me." Amelia would smile, her eyes lighting up. "And a garden where we can relax and find inspiration," she'd add, dreaming alongside him. Their life settled into a harmonious rhythm. They celebrated each other's small victories and found joy in the everyday moments. Affectionate notes, surprise gestures, and shared plans kept their connection vibrant and strong. But as time went on, Henry began noticing subtle changes. Amelia seemed more reserved, her mind often elsewhere. She spent longer stretches of time on her phone, her fingers typing rapidly, a small smile occasionally playing on her lips. "Who are you texting?" Henry asked one evening, trying to sound casual. "It's just about the new exhibition I'm organizing," Amelia replied. Avoiding his gaze at first, Henry brushed it off. He knew the art world was demanding, and Amelia was always in touch with gallery owners and collectors. But over time, her absences became more frequent, her demeanor more distant. Something didn't feel quite right, and Henry couldn't shake the growing unease in his heart. Henry felt the weight of the secret he was carrying. He hadn't expected to find himself in this situation, questioning everything about his relationship with Amelia. He stared blankly at his computer screen, the words of his colleague Daniel barely registering. "Yeah, just tired," Henry muttered, trying to mask the storm brewing inside him. But Daniel wasn't convinced. "You sure? You've seemed off for a while now. If you need to talk about something, you know I'm here." Henry gave a tight-lipped smile, nodding. "Thanks, I appreciate it." He didn't feel ready to discuss it yet. He wasn't even sure what to say. Later that evening, Henry returned home, his mind swirling with the messages he had discovered. He wasn't sure how to face Amelia or if he should even confront her yet. There was still a part of him that wanted to believe it wasn't as bad as it seemed, that there had to be another explanation. But deep down, the trust had been shattered. The woman he had once married, the woman he had shared his life with, seemed like a stranger now. Every passing day, the gap between them grew wider, as if Amelia was slipping further away. When Amelia finally came home, she could sense the tension in the air. Henry's mood was darker than usual, and her attempts to engage him felt forced. "Henry, what's going on? You're acting different," Amelia said softly, walking up to him with a tentative look. Henry didn't immediately respond. He studied her face, searching for any signs of guilt or remorse, but her expression was unreadable. The messages on his phone flashed through his mind, the constant communication with Michael, the words that showed intimacy and affection that no longer seemed to belong to him. Finally, Henry spoke, his voice strained. I found something. Amelia, I saw the message on your phone. Can't wait to see you again, Em. Who is Em? Her face faltered for a split second, a crack in her composed exterior, but it was enough for Henry to know. He could feel his heart sinking, his worst fears slowly becoming a painful reality. Henry, Amelia began, but he cut her off, his emotions taking over. Who is he? Henry repeated, the words coming out more forcefully than he intended. Who is Michael? Amelia hesitated, her gaze avoiding his. Finally, she let out a long, shaky breath. He's someone I met through the art world, she said quietly. Someone I connected with. Henry's pulse quickened. He tried to keep his voice steady but couldn't mask the hurt. Connected with? Is that what you're calling it? Amelia, you've been meeting him, texting him in secret, and now you tell me you're connected. She reached out, but he stepped back, not ready to hear any more excuses. I never wanted to hurt you, Amelia whispered, tears welling in her eyes. But somewhere along the way I lost myself. I've been trying to find something I didn't even realize I was missing. I didn't want to hurt you, but I didn't know how to stop it either. Henry stood frozen, the weight of her words sinking in. I don't know if I can understand that, Amelia. I don't know if I can just let it go. She nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. I never meant for it to get this far. But I know I've hurt you and I'm so sorry for that. I don't want to lose you, Henry. But I've been lost myself. The room felt smaller, the distance between them unbridgeable. Henry's heart ached as he realized the woman he had known, the woman he had shared dreams and promises with, had changed. And now he wasn't sure who she was anymore. Maybe we need some time apart, Henry said, his voice low and trembling with emotion. I don't know if we can fix this right now, but I can't keep pretending like everything's okay. Amelia's face crumpled, the guilt in her eyes heavy. I understand, she said, voice breaking. I just hope one day we can find our way back to each other. If it's even possible. Henry left that night, not knowing what the future held. All he could think of was the way things used to be, the love they once shared. But now, with so much uncertainty, he couldn't help but wonder if it could ever return. Henry's time at the cabin brought clarity, but it also deepened his internal struggle. The solitude allowed him to reflect on everything. The love he had for Amelia, the hurt he felt, and the lessons he had learned along the way. It became clear that, in order to heal, he needed to confront the reality of the situation, but he also needed to let go of the bitterness that was threatening to consume him. When he returned home, the air between him and Amelia was still heavy with unspoken words. She met him at the door, her expression a mixture of hope and fear. She knew the decision he had to make would shape the rest of their lives, but she didn't know what he had concluded. Henry took a deep breath. I've thought a lot about everything. About us. About what happened. Amelia's heart raced and she stepped forward, but Henry held up a hand to stop her. I can't pretend like everything's fine, and I can't just forgive you overnight, he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. But I also know that I've made mistakes too. We both have. We've drifted so far from each other that I almost didn't recognize what we had anymore. Tears welled up in Amelia's eyes as she took a step closer, her voice shaking. Henry, I am so sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. I was wrong. I should have talked to you. I should have made more of an effort. But I didn't want to lose myself, and I thought this was the only way. Henry looked at her, the pain of her confession sitting heavy in his chest. It would take time, but he knew that he had to decide if their marriage was worth saving. I need more than words, Amelia. I need to see that you're committed to changing, to rebuilding what we had. I can't do it alone, and I don't think we can go back to how things were before. We both have to put in the work, if we even have a chance at moving forward. Amelia nodded fervently, her voice trembling. I'll do whatever it takes, Henry. I love you. I've always loved you. I was just so lost. But I know now that I can't keep running from the truth. They both sat down together, acknowledging the distance that had grown between them and the work that lay ahead. There would be no easy fixes or quick resolutions. It would take patience, vulnerability, and a lot of hard conversations. I'm not saying this will be easy, Henry said quietly, but I'm willing to try, Amelia. I need to believe that we can make it through this. But it's going to take time. Amelia reached for his hand, her fingers trembling. We'll take it one step at a time. Whatever it takes. And so they began the slow and uncertain process of rebuilding their relationship, both acknowledging their mistakes, confronting the emotional distance they had allowed to grow, and working to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. There were no guarantees that they would succeed, but for the first time in a long while, they both felt like they were facing the future together. With the possibility of healing, Henry knew that the path forward wouldn't be easy, but as he looked at Lily, he realized that he wasn't ready to give up just yet. They had loved each other deeply once, and maybe, just maybe, that love could help them find their way back. Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with vulnerability. I know it was wrong to keep that from you. I wanted to protect you from the pain. But I understand now that the only way forward is honesty. Henry nodded slowly. The raw honesty in her words helped him feel that, for the first time in a long while, they were truly on the same page. I appreciate your honesty. It hurts, but I understand. I just want to know that we're moving forward together, without anything standing in the way. The conversation hung in the air, heavy yet oddly peaceful. Lily's confession had reopened some old wounds, but her transparency reassured Henry that they were finally beginning to move past the barriers that had kept them apart for so long. The weight of the secrets that had once isolated them seemed lighter now, though the scars of the past still remained. I believe in us, Henry, Lily continued, her voice steady. I know it's going to take time, but I'm committed to rebuilding what we had and more. I love you. I don't want to lose you. Henry reached across the table, taking her hand in his. The simple touch felt like a promise in itself. I love you too. And I believe we can do this. But we both have to keep showing up every day, even when it's hard. Over the next several months, Henry and Lily continued their journey of healing. They kept up with therapy, found new ways to communicate, and made space for their individual growth while still prioritizing their relationship. Though the journey wasn't always smooth, with moments of doubt and frustration, they kept their promise to each other. No secrets, no walls. Henry's work, once his primary focus, took a back seat to their relationship. He made an effort to be more present, even on difficult days. Lily, too, made time for him, and their evenings became a ritual of connecting. Whether it was cooking together, taking long walks, or simply sharing quiet moments, they started taking small trips, rediscovering their love for travel and adventure, things they had once enjoyed before the pressures of life had pulled them apart. With each shared experience, they began to feel the spark of their earlier years. The journey wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And most importantly, they were doing it together. One evening, a year after their reconciliation, they stood together on the balcony of their new home, overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the skyline. I never imagined we'd come this far, Henry said, his arm around Lily's shoulders. Neither did I, she replied softly. But here we are. And I'm grateful for it. For you. Henry kissed her forehead. We've worked hard for this, Lily. We've faced our demons and come out stronger. And now I feel like we're ready to write the next chapter. With a deep breath, they looked out at the horizon together, knowing that the future was still uncertain, but that they had each other. And that was enough. They had learned that love, when nurtured and rebuilt, could overcome even the deepest of betrayals. And together they would continue to build something new, something stronger than before. Henry sat still for a moment, staring at the message on his phone. The words seemed to blur together, and his pulse quickened. A partner position. In London. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, one that would elevate his career to a whole new level. But it was also a huge decision, one that would change everything. As he sat there, processing the gravity of the moment, he thought about the journey he and Lily had been on. Their love had been tested in ways neither of them could have predicted. But through it all, they had learned how to rebuild, how to be more than just a couple, but a true partnership, one based on understanding, communication, and resilience. He looked over at Lily, still asleep beside him. Her steady breathing, the peaceful expression on her face, reminded him of how much they had fought for each other. He knew she would support him no matter what path he chose. But this wasn't just about him anymore. This decision would affect both of them. When Lily woke up, Henry had already made up his mind. He needed to tell her. He needed to talk to her about what the future held. "Good morning, love," Lily said, her voice still soft with sleep as she stretched beside him. "Good morning," Henry replied, his heart a little heavy but filled with purpose. He took a deep breath, holding the phone in his hand. "I need to talk to you about something. Something that could change everything for us." Lily looked at him, her expression curious but calm. "What is it, Henry?" Henry hesitated for just a moment. "I've been offered a chance to become a partner at the London office. It's a huge opportunity for me, and I don't know what to think yet. But I wanted you to know about it, because it's a big decision for both of us." The room seemed to pause for a moment. Lily's gaze softened, and she took a deep breath. "Henry, that's incredible. I can see how much this means to you." "But," Henry asked, sensing there was more on her mind. Lily sat up and ran her fingers through her hair. "But it's also a huge change. It means leaving everything behind. Our life here, our home. I can't help but wonder what that would mean for us." Henry nodded, understanding her concerns. He had thought about that too. "I know. And I've been thinking about it all morning. I want you to know whatever happens, I want you by my side. I don't want to make this decision without considering you. Without considering us." Lily reached out and placed her hand on his. "We've already built something strong, Henry. I believe in us and I know we can face whatever comes next, together. Whether it's London or here, I'm with you. But we need to figure out what feels right for both of us." Henry smiled, the weight of the decision easing as they spoke openly. "I think we've come a long way, Lily. And whatever the future brings, I'm not afraid of it as long as we're in it together." The conversation didn't lead to immediate answers, but it brought clarity. They knew this was a big decision, one that would require patience and careful consideration. But they had come to understand that love wasn't just about holding on to the good times, it was about supporting each other, no matter where the road led. Over the next few weeks, Henry and Lily talked through the logistics, the possibilities, and the fears. They discussed what the move to London would mean for their careers, their lifestyle, and their relationship. It was a decision neither could make lightly, but it was also a reminder that the future was open to possibilities, and that they were no longer afraid to face it head-on. In the end, they both agreed that the opportunity in London was worth exploring, but that they would take it one step at a time. They would move together, start fresh, and continue to build their lives, with all the challenges and rewards that came with it. As they packed their bags, ready to embark on this new adventure, Henry couldn't help but think back to the night they had shared dinner at that restaurant. The first time they had celebrated their love after everything that had happened. That night had been a symbol of how far they had come. And now this new chapter in London would be a chance to build a future that was uniquely theirs. They had learned that love wasn't just about the good times, but about what you do when things get hard. And together, Henry and Lily were ready for whatever the future brought.